It starts slowly. At first, they don't notice your silence. They assume you're just taking time. Maybe you're upset. Maybe you're giving space. Maybe you're playing the same games they were. They don't panic. Not yet, because in their mind, they still have you. They think you're waiting, that you'll text eventually, that you'll call or reach out or show up the way you always have. They've seen you care too much before, remember, so they feel safe in your silence. They wear it like armor, protecting them from guilt or self-reflection. They believe you'll break first. You always do, but you don't. Days pass, then a week, and something shifts. The silence starts to stretch beyond what they expected. The phone doesn't light up. Their notifications stay dry. There's no message saying, "I miss you," no late night voice note, no subtle reaction to their story, nothing. And that nothing, that's when it hits them. Because silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the absence of control. It's the absence of reassurance. It's the absence of being wanted, even after doing damage. And for someone who thought they could walk in and out of your heart freely, that absence is loud, deafening, inescapable. At first, they try to distract themselves. They scroll, they swipe, they go out, they laugh too loud, post too much, fake a kind of joy that's designed just for your eyes, hoping you'll break the silence just to comment, just to react, just to show you're still watching. But you don't. And now the silence isn't just noticed, it's felt deeply. It begins to echo in the places they thought you'd always occupy. In the songs, in the photos, in the messages they scroll back through at midnight but pretend not to miss. You become a presence through your absence, a voice through your quiet, a mirror they can't avoid. They start wondering, did they really let go this easily? Are they already over me? Are they talking to someone else? Because people don't expect the one who cared the most to go silent. They expect the one who was soft to come running. But what they never see coming is what happens when the soft one gets tired, when the loyal one chooses self-respect, when the one who always tried finally stops. They start to remember the little things, the things they once brushed off, minimized or took for granted, the way you always checked in, even when you were tired, the way you gave second chances without making them beg, the way your eyes softened when they spoke about their fears, their dreams, their mess. You didn't just listen, you saw them, and now that vision is gone. Your silence is no longer a reaction. It's a message, not of bitterness, but of finality, not of anger, but of clarity. And that clarity, it scares them, because now they're the one refreshing messages that never arrive. They're the one reading into posts, overthinking the calm in your absence, feeling the sting of not being needed anymore. They won't admit this out loud. Their pride won't allow it. So instead, they'll test the waters, maybe a casual story reaction, a hey with no context, a vague text just to see if you'll bite. But you don't. You don't, because silence taught you something they never did, how to live without them. And that discovery is what turns your silence from a pause into a decision. Now the silence becomes heavier for them. It creates a space where their thoughts echo louder than any words you could have spoken. What if they pushed you too far? What if they finally made you stop loving them? What if their indifference wrote the ending? These are the questions that keep them up now. Because deep down, they know they had something real. And maybe they didn't understand it when it was within reach. Maybe they thought love would wait forever. That you'd always be available, always forgiving, always open. But love doesn't wait at the door forever. It walks away when the door stays closed too long. And now, their silence is no longer power. It's punishment, not by you, but by their own mind. Because when someone gives you access to their soul and you fumble it, you don't get to decide how or when they heal. You don't get to demand closure from the very person you pushed away. What hurts the most isn't that you're silent. It's that your silence feels like peace, because peace is what they never expected you to find without them. They thought your world revolved around their attention, that your joy was tied to their presence. But your silence, it tells a different story. It shows you've begun to rebuild, that you found strength in the same space where they left you broken. And nothing is more haunting to someone who underestimated you than watching you thrive without needing them. They begin to compare, not always consciously, but subtly. Every new connection, every casual interaction gets measured against what you brought into their life. And no matter how far they look, they keep finding shadows of you in places they didn't expect. Your kindness, your laughter, your calm presence. It lingers in their mind, but now it's out of reach. And the silence, it doesn't fade, it grows. It grows because it's real. It grows because this time, it's not a tactic or a test. It's the result of too many moments where you were unheard, unseen, uncared for. They start to realize they weren't replaced. You didn't move on to hurt them. You moved on because you finally saw what they refused to acknowledge, that you deserve better. This is the stage where regret begins to settle in, quietly. It creeps in during the most unexpected times, when they hear a song you once played, when they pass a place you both used to go, when they scroll through old photos and feel something they told themselves they were done feeling. It's not just about missing you anymore. It's about missing the version of themselves that existed when you loved them. That version, the one who was cared for, supported, encouraged, feels far away now. And without you, they're left facing the emptiness they tried to fill with distractions. The silence forces reflection. It forces them to confront their choices. And maybe they won't say it out loud, but deep down they know. They lost someone who genuinely showed up. And that realization, it stings. Because they remember how many chances you gave. How many times you tried to make it work. How patient you were. How much love you offered without asking for much in return. And now, when the silence answers every question they wish they could ask, they begin to understand what they gave up. But by then, you've changed. Because silence doesn't just change how they see you, it changes who you become. You're no longer the person who waits by the phone, hoping for crumbs of effort. You're no longer the one making excuses for someone else's emotional absence. You've outgrown the cycle. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer finds comfort in chaos. And while they sit with their regret, wondering if you still think about them, if you still feel anything, you've made peace with the story. Not because it was easy, not because you stopped caring overnight, but because you finally realized your healing mattered more than their apology. Your future mattered more than their confusion. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped overgiving. You stopped trying to be enough for someone who never saw your worth. And in that stillness, in that quiet rebuilding of your own world, you became someone they never imagined losing. Not because you disappeared, but because you evolved. And they feel it now, not through your words, but through your silence. Not through confrontation, but through your absence. The kind of absence that doesn't beg to be noticed, but becomes impossible to forget. This is what happens when you go silent, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Not to make them hurt, but to finally let yourself heal. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all.